think I'm live. Am I live? Okay, it's counting down. Make sure I ain't got nothing in my nose, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let my little slow internet do what it do. Make sure my comment thing is right here. Alright, everything working. Cool. Okay, I'm live. I know I was supposed to do this a day ago, but got caught up in some stuff. And one of the main topics a lot of people had brought to my attention was generational curses. Which this is a big one, man. And I call my podcast Truth and Facts over Feelings and Emotions. So if you get in your feelings about something that's truthful and something that I say, so what? I don't care. We live in a generation now, what my daddy used to call the popcorn era, where people just want the little quick, fast rush, do whatever, say whatever, that's cool. No, it don't work like that. That's what's wrong with society now. People don't have the time to even sit back and listen and understand what's going on. So a generational curse, according to dictionary, is a generational curse of science or sins passed down from ancestors over generations. It even talks about it in the Bible, about it being curses, sins that people did, the ancestors did, and God was punishing for them, and then he switched it up later on in the Bible. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but generational curse. A lot of people really don't get how that affects their life, other people's lives, their kids' lives, and everybody's life. And I got to a point where I was talking to a cousin who broke it down, and she was like, I don't come around because look at our generation. And then a documentary I was watching, it was saying, draw your family tree, and you start to realize the person you are. So you can take a generational curse and keep it as a curse, or you can turn it into a blessing. It's your choice. Now, I had a different little topics I was going to talk about on generational curses and how people do it constantly and don't even realize they're doing it because they're so used to it. And it's done being passed down from grandma to mama to daughter to child, So one of them, which was a big thing, is drug abuse. I come from a family where there were drugs, and I had the choice either if I wanted to follow that generational curse because there's a lot of drugs involved in it, and if I wanted to step away. Now, the thing that confuses me is, yes, I stepped away. Everybody who know me, they know I don't do drugs. I don't see the benefit from it. I don't see the profit from it. I see nothing in it but just misery. I mean, people say it makes them happy or whatever it do for them, but it can't do nothing for me. And I would hate to see one of my kids or one of my nephews or nieces abuse drugs. And most people who come from a drug background, what confuses me is they'll see their parents growing up dealing with drugs, struggling from drugs, living on the streets, being on the street corners, under a bridge, and then turn right around and do them. And the crazy part about it is it be the same exact drug. I don't get it. You know what I mean? So when I say look at your family tree and you look at the drugs involved and then you see the offspring of that family tree and they're all on drugs, that's a curse. There you go. But you have to also realize that they have a choice. And that choice of, being around something constantly, it takes time. You don't just change overnight and be like, oh, I don't want to do this. You're going to get curious. Eventually, you're going to do it. So I would advise a lot of people to turn away from it because you see what it is. I mean, it's going to hurt your family for generations. So why would you want to involve yourself into something like that? Another one that was in my family tree was alcohol. Now, everybody know at one point I had got to the point where I was an alcoholic. I started drinking every day, every night. It was just something I was doing constantly. And my mama used to say, well, I kept y'all away from drugs and all that. And she right, she did. She did the best she could. But I couldn't say in my family tree that we wasn't around it. We didn't see it going on. We didn't sit there and be like everybody having fun. We didn't see the vomiting and people getting sick and all that. We just seen people partying, having a good time. And that's when it comes to, as far as alcohol and drugs, that's when it comes to, I put it like this. If you go to a bar, are you going to bring your kids with you? No. You're not going to bring your kids with you to a bar. So then why bring the bar to the house? I honestly feel like your kids, I mean, ain't nobody perfect. Yeah, they gonna know alcohol is this, drugs is this, whatever. But when you abuse that and you're bringing your kids around it, and then they get older, you see how the generation is passing down, and then they get to drinking and doing dumb junk, and they're alcoholics all the time. What can you say to them? You show them this is how I cope and this is how I deal with my problems, and they don't know how. So now you just pass that curse down to the next one, and the next one, and you keep it going. So I tell people, you got to watch what you do around your kids, your nephews, your nieces. We all grown now. Because they looking at that, and they like, okay, well, this is what's cool. This is what we going to do. And I'm sure people done had family members who died of drug overdoses. People done had people who done got in bad car wrecks by being drunk. And a lot of parents say, well, what did I do? I mean, what did I do wrong? I mean, you're bringing your sins, your curses around this new generation. Your kids is your new generation. Abuse. I grew up around that. So when I grew up, I was a very abusive person. People would tell you I would fight. I didn't care. And then mental abuse, that was one of my biggest ones. I used to watch a certain person mentally abuse somebody in my family, and they accepted it. They stayed there and dealt with it and constantly. Then I looked at all the men that was in my family tree, and I can say you probably got a few gentlemen, and the rest of them, but where did they learn it from? They pick it up somewhere, so that curse had been passed down. But I took it amongst myself to tell myself, I'm not fit to be an abusive person no more. What's the point? And then mental abuse, that's the worst one. That's worse than physical, because now you're messing with somebody's mind. You're messing with somebody's emotions. You're destroying a person from the inside. But I can't sit here and tell you through the generations of my family tree, I haven't seen that done several times. I can't sit here and tell you it. As a child, I knew it was wrong, but eventually it rubbed off on me. Another one I threw in was poverty. This is the biggest thing I hate about generational curses. Poverty. Nobody's sitting down telling you, everybody telling you this, you smart, you can do this, you can be that, you can. Nobody's telling you how. Nobody's telling you how to get there. They're giving you that positivity, but when you ask to open the door, hey, can you help me with this? They turn it away. They turn it away. Poverty. I grew up in the hood. Moved out when we got a little bit older. Some people are cool with living off of financial assistance. And if that's your life, that's your life. But at the same time, you're teaching your generation that it's okay to not succeed. Food stamps. I tell people all the time, if you need the food stamps, get them. Section 8. If you need it, get it, of course. But look for a way out. But there's a lot of people who going to sit here and say, I don't want to make this kind of money, because if I make this kind of money, they're going to take my food stamps away. They're going to take my Medicaid away. They're going to take this away, that away. You teaching your generation to live off the government. That's one of the biggest sins, to teach your people to be broke. And then you live in a life in fear where they're going to take this. Okay, if you're making that type of money, you can afford it. So what's the issue? And I'm telling you, that's why some people say another generational curse, one of my biggest ways, is division in family. You got family members right now that'll tell you, these are the family members they'll kick it with. These are the family members they won't kick it with. And half the time it don't be nothing serious. Nothing. Mad, jealousy, something like that. But at the same time, you got a couple of uncles and aunties that don't deal with each other. You got a couple of great grandmas, great grandaunts, and great granduncles, or whatever you call them, that don't deal with each other. So you passing it down. And then when it goes back to abuse, because I'm going to jump around, I see a lot of people who grew up, parents abusing them, talking to them crazy, treating them like nothing, hurting them mentally, physically, and mentally hurting them. And then they turn around and do that same thing to their child. I've heard people call their child ignorant, retarded, stupid, dumb bees, all kinds of junk. And then I look at the parent. I always go, okay, I know you. What is your mom like? What is your dad like? Then I heard them talk. And I'll be like, that's why you talk to your kids like this. You got to break that curse. I ask everybody who cussed their kids out. When your mama cussed you out, how did it make you feel? When your daddy cussed you out, how did it, grandma, whoever cussed you out, how did it make you feel? Did it actually change your life for the better? Did that type of discipline change your life for the better or make you a worse parent to your child? That's why the cussing at the kids, I mean, at first I was with that. You know, I grew up that way. You know, my daddy used to tell me that's the only way they listen. That's a lie. That's a way to mentally destroy a child over the years. So then when they move on and they get around somebody who's mentally abusing them and you're telling them you need to leave this person alone or that person alone, you know why they ain't listening? Because it's the same thing you did to them their whole life. So they come immune to it. And then we get so immune to putting these generational curses out here, we don't pay attention. We all at the party, everybody smoking weed in front of the kids. Everybody getting drunk in front of the kids. So what you think they gonna do when they party? Well, hey, let's go get us some weed. Let's go get us some drink. Let's go, boom. You gotta break that curse. You gotta end that. Or suffer from it. Just like the Bible says, suffer from the sins. You reap what you sow. That is in there. When you plant that seed into that generation and that generation becomes what you don't want it to be, or it becomes, sad to say, just like you, you put it out there. You made it cool. Then a lot of people nowadays, when it comes to discipline, there is no discipline. When it comes to actually being a parent, there is no parent. The parent is the tablet. The parent is the cell phone. So then when your kid running around doing something weird that you don't understand, you ain't been even paying attention to what he been watching. So to break them generational curses, when you look at, actually take a time tonight, draw your family tree. Look at all the sin that's in it. Or let's look at all of the bad that's in it. The abuse, the alcohol, the mental abuse, the drugs, the poverty, the terrible discipline. And even your belief system, and I tell people just like this, I believe, if you believe in the Bible, just because your family do, that's a curse. Because to believe in God, that's got to be between you and God. That's got to be something you understand. I just believe in it because of my family. Then you got people growing up who see their dads beat women, so they turn around and they beat women. You see girls out here, they mama know, the daughter know that the mama's sleeping with 5 or 6 different men. So then they turn around and do the same thing. You passing that curse down. What you do, you need to do in private. Because you are a representation of your generation. You right there with kids, you are a representation of your next generation. What you do with your nieces, your nephews, you're a representation. You got a lot to show. So when people be like, what is actually a generational curse? It's the sins that our kids see us do and take hold to. It's the sins that you seen your family, your mama, your daddy do, and you took hold to. And then you get so deep into it, you don't even know how to break the curse. Now, when I say curse, I ain't talking about somebody came out and put a spell on you or something like that. I'm talking about you're repeating to your kids, to your nephews, to your nieces, what you seen your parents, your uncles, your grandmas do that you knew was wrong. And it don't take a rocket scientist to know what's right and what's wrong. It don't. So all that you're doing now in front of your kids, don't be surprised when they do it in front of you when they get older. Don't get surprised when you don't know. I ain't know he was drinking. I ain't know she was smoking. I ain't know he was beating women up. I ain't know he was cussing people out. I ain't know this. You passing, you being that curse. Why not be that blessing? I got a cousin right now don't deal with nobody because she says she gonna break that cycle. Kept her kids away from that family tree. And I'm not just talking about a family tree. You got friends. When you hang around people who do stuff that you know is not according to what you do, or you even accept, and you still go around them, come on, man. Wake up. It's like I tell people, it takes one person to make a change, and you can see a lot of people follow. So when you really want to know about generational curses, ask yourself, are you the curse or are you the blessing? Or what you doing in front of your next generation, good or bad? What are you doing in front of your kids? What are you doing in front of your nephews, your nieces, your little cousins? What are you doing? Because you're that generation. And if you've seen something in that generation before, in your parents, your aunties, your uncles, grandma, and it wasn't right, change it. So what? Your grandma used to beat you for 5 hours. Did it work? I used to get whoopings growing up. Went to jail still. My brother and them used to get whoopings growing up. They still went to prison. So did whoopings really work? Think about it. Did cussing at me really work? Think about it. Anyways, I'm out. This is Truth and Facts Over Feelings and Emotions. Everybody been telling me to get back on. I done got back on. As far as a podcast, please leave comments because I'm getting tired of y'all. Hey, why you want to do this topic? Why you want to do that topic? Leave a comment. Let's talk on it. And if you're really about it, you can get on it. We can conversate with it. If there's anything I said that you don't agree with, that you want to get on here and discuss, feel free. Till then, I'm out.